Okay, so we have now a punt film study. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I am a special teams expert. I'm really not. But you know what? I figured I could watch the tape, sort of just find something, see what I see, and tell you what I see, and we'll see if there's something notable there, or if I'm completely wrong and just being an idiot. But I think there's some things you can find here that are interesting. This is something that has been talked about a decent amount. Is the Kansas City Chiefs punt return, Mecole Hardman, going up against the Tampa Bay punt coverage unit that has had its issues this season at a couple of moments. It hasn't been awful, but it's definitely had a couple of moments. According to Pro Football Focus, they have Tampa Bay rated as the second worst special teams unit. So there you go. There's been some issues. Do I think that we could see a touchdown? Well, let's get into it, and let's watch the punts from the first time these two teams played. So the ball is snapped. Bradley Pinion is the punter, and I think he's going to kind of maybe be the saving grace here. So this is a bit of a shorter punt. They started at their own 45, and he's able to have a good enough hang time that Hardman is able to get a decent return on it. I thought good job blocking the Gunners out of the way. Eventually, Hardman gets tackled, but there wasn't much room for him. It was a solid run back. So I would say that that's not great punt coverage, but also you're not going to give up a big play or a touchdown. And I think that's probably the hope for Tampa Bay, is mostly just if you give up a 10-yard return, whatever, just don't give up the big play. There was also this one, this time inside their own 30 at about the 27. But again, a lot of hang time right here. So this is really just a very good punt by Pinion, and also good special teams tackle there. So that's something you can do as well. Just try to get a lot of hang time, which I do think that's what Pinion's probably going to try and do. Not necessarily worry about getting the most distance. Just give his team time to run over and make the tackle. Focus more on that. This one was actually an incredible punt. This time from his own 33-yard line. This is going to be one of the punts of the year, maybe, because there was even pressure. He ended up having his own man get blocked into him. But look at this punt. It goes all the way to the 4-yard line. Hardman actually catches it off the bounce, but there's nowhere for him to really go. Gets it to about the 10. But that was just an incredible punt. So again, I brought up the Pro Football Focus rating, but one of the issues with that is it counts everybody as the same value, which obviously is not the case, and I think they would even admit it, that that's not the best way to read it, because one guy on a special teams unit isn't as worth as much as the punter is, and Bradley Pinion is kind of Tampa Bay's saving grace. And this was the last punt, so yeah, I talked about every punt. This is from their own 27. This time you are going to see a bit of a return. There's again a good hang time, but it also gets far, so Hardman at this point, I'll pause it. He has a little bit of room to run. And this is kind of the age-old question, right? Do you run up the middle where he could maybe gain, I think he could probably gain a decent amount of yards. If there's a good block, he could maybe get to like the, 33, 35-yard line or so. Who knows, maybe more, but probably not. Probably around there. Around the 30 seems the most likely scenario. Instead, he's going to kind of try and run to the outside, and I just don't know how much I love this idea. But at the same time, it's one of those things where every now and then it'll cost you some yards, but also every now and then it could get you a touchdown, so it's kind of worth it sometimes. So probably not what he should have done, but again, I'm pausing it and looking at every single gap. He has to make these reads in real time. It's difficult. Hardman does get to the outside, but gets tackled pretty quickly because, again, it's just difficult for him to make that read. Can't really blame him too much, and, it was a pretty well played by Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay actually had a pretty good day against Kansas City in terms of the punt return team. But as we know, they've had their bad days as well. I think that the New Orleans divisional game was probably the worst of the bunch. So what happened there? So we'll start off with this one. It's at about the 32-yard line, and, this is a punt return that you sort of think this could do well. Again, not as much hang time this time as we saw in Tampa Bay. I'm not sure if there's weather conditions at the dome, whatever, maybe the humidity helps. I literally don't know. I don't know the science behind punting a football. Maybe Pat McAfee would be better to make this video, but I'm doing my best. What I do know, however, is that you look, and there is just nobody anywhere near the kick returners left, with the exception of the gunner who's about to try and tackle him. And that's not a horrible situation, because if you do make that tackle, you make a quick tackle right at the 25-yard line, and, no return, you'll take that. The issue is if you miss the tackle, you're probably not going to have anybody on the return team as fast as the kick returner. So when this tackle is missed, there's just nobody on that side of the field. And, to me, that looked more like not really necessarily great blocking from New Orleans. That was more Tampa Bay just screwing up and no one getting over there. I'll try to show it a couple of times because that just seems like a clear mistake to me. And again, as I say, I'm not an expert, but there were sort of unblocked guys who didn't get over and cover up the running lane to the kick returner's left, which is it's a clear mistake there. You don't have to have a PhD in football to understand that. This second one was a bit more excusable, I thought, where we'll see what happens. It's, a kick at about the 20, so, again, kind of that awkward situation of you can't use the end zone to help you. It's a high punt, but not really high enough, and what you see is there's a couple of missed tackles with the Gunners as well, which that's a clear issue, is the Gunners have to make their tackles, and they didn't here. I've now circled Tampa Bay, special teamer who, in yellow, he's the guy who's sort of the contain guy. I mean, there's another player all the way over in that direction, but it's really him that is the guy who, at least right here, can make the play. He can't let the kick returner get further to the bottom of the screen than him because there's only one other guy in that area, and, that guy has someone who could block him, so that's an issue. But as you see, when there's moves to the middle, he runs way far to the middle, gets fooled on that, and it's going to be a touchdown, although there was a block in the back, which who knows if that ends up being a touchdown without the block in the back. But still, there were mistakes getting made, and, you got to just understand sort of make sure you don't let someone get to the outside, and they have to make sure they do that in the Super Bowl. You can't afford to give Kansas City 7. Kansas City's offense is explosive enough as it is, so you don't want to make things easier for them by giving them a special teams touchdown. But Tampa Bay did recover. They didn't really give up a big punt return after that point, and this one was a big way they were able to do it. For one thing, everyone really got their gap assignment at this point, and also the Gunners just made their tackles from there on out. And one other thing is you saw Pinion kind of go with a bit more of a, high arching punt. I'm sure there's a term for it. I don't know the terms, but I did do a good amount of research for this stuff. I tried to watch about as many punts as I could. So hopefully there are still takeaways, even if you think I'm an idiot for not knowing all the right terminology. Although the one thing I should mention is, to show Kansas City, Mecole Hardman punt return touchdown, this one, what you see is that first things first, I feel like those two blocks right there are sort of on the edge. Really good blocks by Kansas City. It seems like their kick return unit and their punt return unit, a big way they're able to be successful, sort of no matter who they have back there, is just the fact that they have really good blocking, which obviously that's a huge part of it. Everyone gives the kick returner or punt returner all the credit, but the blocking obviously matters as well. But also right there, circled in yellow, that's the gunner. Not the gunner who was on closest to the bottom of the screen, but closest to the top of the screen. So again, that just kind of goes to show the blocking Kansas City has, and that's going to clear up some space for Hardman to run to his left and potentially have some room to run. That's what Hardman ends up doing, again, well blocked, but also he, does the rest by is able to, have the speed and acceleration to get up and get that touchdown. So good job by him. Of course, you can't get a kick return touchdown without a punt return touchdown without the punt returner doing really well. So, good job by him. And that could be maybe one way that Kansas City could potentially get a big kick return or punt return is just by blocking it well. I do think Tampa Bay will be more disciplined than they were against New Orleans. I actually think that in a weird way, them being so undisciplined for those couple of snaps in New Orleans maybe is the best thing to happen to them, because now they learned the hard way why it can go wrong, and they didn't actually get affected that poorly from it. It only cost them 3 points because of the penalty, so they had that going for them. Could have been a lot worse. So yeah, in conclusion, will this be a day that Tampa Bay has just a hard time getting these stopping Hardman? Will Hardman get a bunch of big punt returns? I'm going to guess probably not. I'm going to guess that you're just going to see them, give up a few yards down the field just to make sure he doesn't have these returns. And I think that we'll probably see a very uneventful punting day. But who knows? There is the potential in this game for there to be a big punt return touchdown for the Chiefs. So yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.